Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Makayla Simone Show here on k-ru.org from 12 to 1 p.m. with your host, Makayla Simone. I hope you guys like that first segment with Marquise Harris, my amazing husband. But it's time to try to turn the page here. And we're going to continue talking about walking in purpose, but this time it's going to be through an interview with someone who is amazing and who is doing things for the community with her own brand. And I'll just have her introduce herself and who she is. So tell us who you are. Who is Kharissa Forte? What do you do?
Well, hey, girl.
Hey.
You know what? It's really funny because I know that we've chatted on Facebook and social media.
Yes.
But this is the first time that we're meeting in person.
It really is?
Yes, it is. It's so funny. It's so funny. So I'm Kharissa Forte. Thank you for having me on today. I say that I'm a writer, a creative, and an entrepreneur. That's what I am. That's what I do. I'm a wife, married to this awesome guy named Wesley Forte, who is a local educator, and he's doing some powerful things for our young black men in the community.
That's good because we need that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We need that.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of creeping on your website and Facebook and everything because I knew I've seen the Devout Life and all that before, and then the branding. So I want to kind of jump in and talk about because we're talking about walking in purpose today.
Yes.
And so my first question would be, because we mentioned on the first segment, just the importance of walking in your purpose, but not in someone else's. Because it's just you get blinded trying to walk into someone else's journey and path when God has created a path just for you. So tell our listeners, before we kind of jump into what you do, why is it important that people walk into their purpose?
Oh my gosh, it's so important because I believe that everyone has a reason for being here. Everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a calling on their lives. And the thing is, sometimes we equate our calling to our career, but your calling and career may not always be one and the same. Sometimes it is, but usually your career is a catalyst for your calling as opposed to being the calling itself. And with what you're talking about with living in other people's dreams and whatnot, one of the things that I realized that I had to let go of was living for the little girl inside of me. Yes. And living for the little dreamer and the girl that wanted to be a news reporter and whatnot.
Yes.
And not even letting that little girl inside of me stop me from walking in my purpose.
That's good. And so as you talk about that, I know you have the Devout Life.
Yeah.
And so I just saw that it is to help Christian women in business and to actually walk into their calling. So tell us a little bit about the Devout Life and where they can go to read more about it and just how this all came together.
Absolutely. So you can go to therealkforte.com. Everything is on therealkforte.com. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, everything is therealkforte. So the Devout Life actually came about. It was one of those things, like I was saying, where your career may not necessarily be your calling, but it's a catalyst for your calling. The Devout Life was actually birthed through K Forte Branding and Communications. And how it came about was anytime I would help women with websites or logos or just getting their brand together and getting started, I would always get the same questions. And it was always centered around, you're a wife, you're a mom, you got a legit 9-to-5, and you're a businesswoman, and you seem to be perfectly sane and happy and normal. How do you do all of this without losing your head?
Right.
And I realized that the advice that I was telling them was all the same. It was about conquering fear and redefining balance and making sure that you're productive and not busy. So that actually prompted me to start praying about it, and it really got me thinking, is this something that I should be doing for a lot of Christian businesswomen? So that's kind of how it came about.
I like that. So in, just starting the Devout Life, did you ever find discomfort in, not discomfort, but just is this really what, even having those battles, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Because, we can be overthinking some things are people really going to be, are the women really going to be drawn into this? Is this, because I know we delay the process because we don't take that leap.
Yes, absolutely. Something that I've learned through this process more than anything is that grace operates in the mentality of progress over perfection. Nothing has to be perfect, right? And with that comes the art of authenticity and the art of knowing how to be transparent and whatnot. So, I definitely went through that. And especially with when I started the Devout Life, things like Boss Babe or getting really big and Girl Boss and whatnot. And that almost influenced me in a way that could have shifted and took me away from my purpose. I never want to be a cookie-cutter Christian. Like, that's something that I always say. I'm not the stay-at-home mom who homeschools, and you know, I'm just not that girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that at all, absolutely not. But I'm the city girl and whatnot, and it's like, yo, what does it look like being a Christian businesswoman as a millennial? Like, what does that look like?
Doing my thing. It's
Yes. Definitely.
So one of the quotes that I found on your website, it said, "Your past has no power over your purpose." And that really spoke to me because sometimes we try to bring up that past, like you talk about the little girl inside. Like you bring up those, well, I should have done this, or I didn't do this. What if I go back to this? And so that really spoke to me. So why is it important for people to understand that, you know, your past has no power over your purpose or over their purpose in life? And because sometimes we just like to hold on to that thing. That past just looks good, and we don't understand that actually the promise looks a little
Girl,
better.
say that. Absolutely. Well, for me, your past has no power over your purpose literally came from my life stories and connecting the dots at different things. Now, I'm going to get real deep for like 2 seconds, so y'all just bear with me, okay? But when I started off, when I think about the girl that I was, this time 10 years ago, I had just flunked out of college. The first time I went off to school, I went to the University of Nebraska, flunked out. I was in an abusive relationship.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I didn't find the courage to leave that until I had my daughter, and it was knowing her worth before I even knew mine that gave me the courage to leave that relationship. And I also had 2 abortions. And that was something that took me a long time to be able to speak about and whatnot. But I realized that there are so many women out there who have gone through one of those circumstances that it's absolutely selfish of me to keep it to myself. And here's why. Now, I'm a graduate of UMKC. Go Roos.
I will be in December.
Yes, congratulations. And my degree was in journalism, and I've used it. I've worked in radio. I've done TV. I've written for magazines and newspapers and blogs. So it's like, whoa, that's a complete 180. And then looking at the relationship that I was in, now I'm married to this God-fearing man who loves me like Christ loved the church, loves my daughter so much that he adopted her as his own, and treats her no differently than our son that we had together. And then when I think about the abortions, how I literally gave 2 babies back to God, but now I'm a mother of 2 healthy, happy, strong, smart, beautiful kids. And it just goes to show that your past has no power over your purpose. Whether it's in school, your career, a relationship, or even as a mom, what God has for you is for you, and it is your destiny to prevail.
I like that. Oh my God, I'm about to be having so many calls. Gotta go back and write this and write that. Oh,
it's real out here.
Yeah, it is. But I saw that when I was reading through your website and how you were just saying that you like to be real and you like to be honest. And so, because I think, I was raised as a pastor's kid.
Okay.
And so I was Team PK, but I was sharing with someone yesterday that I hated the image of being a pastor's kid. Because every time I try to go to a party or I try to go do stuff with my friend, what you doing here, PK? Shouldn't you be at church?
Right.
And so I hated that, but I realized that I was like, my parents wasn't forcing me to do it, but I was trying to basically hide my identity of, because your identity makes up who you are. I was a pastor's kid. I couldn't do anything about it. And so you try your best to try to just sugarcoat those things, say, I'm not that. And I just remember just trying to hide those things. And so I think that also when we talk about purpose and identity come together, because people are like, well, what's my purpose in life? Well, a lot of people struggle with identity, especially millennials. I think millennials struggle with, okay, what is my identity? I'm going to church and I'm hanging with my church friends, but actually not stepping out and saying, okay, who really am I? Or somebody may have not even shown them of like your story. Maybe someone didn't have a moment where they were real and honest with them. And so do you find yourself, especially with coaching women and encouraging them, do you find yourself being just real and authentic to a point where it's like, wow, like you kind of look like, oh my gosh, did I just say that? But how it minister to them, or even in a moment where you may say something that you may have been going through at the same time that they didn't know, but it still got them to their destiny, or got them out of what they were going through.
Absolutely.
Because I think sometimes we believe that, well, I can't minister to this person, or I can't really speak to this person, this woman, because I'm going through that right now.
Right.
And that's the time to be authentic and honest, not to say that I'm going through this right now, but you just, just find that voice. So how is that for you, especially when you're in the setting of coaching women, or just an experience you may have had?
Sure, yeah. You know, like I was saying before, I think that there's an art to transparency, and we have to find that line between keeping it real and overshare. And this is something that, shameless plug, that I actually wrote about in this ebook that I had that's only $4.99 that you can get at therealkforte.com, called the Cultivation Series. And it's talking about cultivating the soil of your soul and the authenticity of your soul and things of that nature. And in that, I talk about how transparency is an art. You have to know what to share with who and with whom. And I think that, and when, with who and with whom. That's the same thing. What to share with whom and when to share it is what I meant to say. And in that, you have to realize that whether you're on a platform or not, you do not have to share every single iota of your business with people. You don't owe people your story per se. You do owe people in the sense of life lessons. And this is what I learned through in this experience. And I think that when we're actively going through the struggle, that's when our accountability partners and our sisters in Christ can stand alongside us and hold us up and help us get through that tunnel. There's light on the end of the tunnel, but you have to walk through that dark, nasty, stank tunnel to get to that light. So I think for me, in my experience, I'm always careful to share things that, number one, I know that I've healed from. Or that there was even if there's still pain there, or basically if it takes me back to a place of just complete breakdown, then I'm not healed. And by sharing that isn't really going to do anything for them. Right. But if it's something where it's like, oh yeah, this is just a struggle that I'm going through, or I can relate to you on this matter, that's different. So I think that we have to be just very careful about what we share with whom and when. Is this a setting where I should be sharing this with someone that I'm coaching and pouring into, or is this something that I should share with someone like an accountability partner? So it's just good to keep those things in mind.
I think people confuse being transparent and then telling your business.
Yes, ma'am.
Especially on social media. You see it all the time. And, your heart goes out to people because, they may be thinking, oh, I'm just being transparent, open, but not realizing that they're not really healed from what they're going through. And so I think that's just amazing, what you pointed out, because we do find those times, especially when you're hurting. I mean, you don't realize how much you get to rambling then till you go home and like, wow, it all kind of comes back to you. You realize I'm not quite over that. Yes. And so, I mean, there still is a win in that, because you get to go home and realize, like, wow, I'm really not healed now. I can. And it just comes from, learning over time. And so I just think that was amazing. Well, I want to ask, because there's people listening like, oh, she's talking about Devout Life and just kind of
Yeah.
what that is. How can people register for the Devout Life or take your classes, or, well, women can
Yes, yes.
and how can they get access to that?
Definitely. So right now, enrollment is closed. However, you can still go to therealkforte.com and enter the site, and you can get on the waiting list. So you just, a little pop-up will come up, and it'll say, hey, just type in your email. We'll let you know when enrollment
I put my
opens up
email in
again.
today.
I saw that. I was like, look at my girl. That's what's up. I love it.
Yeah, I put it in today. So with the Devout Life, who would you say was your biggest supporter that kind of like was that one that from the beginning until now? It's probably your husband, right?
He's a huge part of that. He's definitely a huge part of that. But you know what? I'll also say that my mom is definitely a big part of that too. Monica Parker, hey girl, I love you. My mom, for as long as I can remember, has had a relationship with Christ. And she's someone who has been transparent about... Yeah, yeah, yeah. She see it, she get it. You know what I mean? But she was actually the one that kind of pointed out, girl, like you saying some deep stuff, and I've never really saw scriptures like that before, but you're not eisegeting either. You know what I mean? You're not taking it out of context or anything. So this is something that you definitely need to pray for and consider branching out into, however God sees fit. Mm-hmm. So I think that her constant support and her constant just unconditional love and encouragement and me staying in my word and growing and studying and whatnot.
Shout out to moms.
Absolutely. That played a huge role.
Hashtag Black Moms.
Yes.
So that's amazing. So for those ladies who may be listening today, you need to go to The Real Forte.
The Real K Forte. Yes, ma'am.
.com and check it out. Writing and just maybe you can take some class. You can find I've been on the website, so you can find a lot of things on there. And speaking of that, the road to my next thing, let's talk about the K Forte branding and communication, because I also saw that. So what inspired you to start K Forte branding communication?
Oh, girl, that came out of a stressful situation, to be honest. So when I started here at UMKC, I was a single mom, right? And by the time I graduated, I was married with the 2 kids. So I was like, look, I need a job now. Like, I don't have time to play games with people. Let's get in the door. And getting a job as a journalist here is very hard, is what I learned.
I'm learning now.
Yes, ma'am. If you haven't got an internship, get one.
Yes.
Get an internship. That'll really help a lot. But everyone kept saying to me that, yeah, you're pretty talented and whatnot, but you don't have postgraduate experience, and you need some postgraduate experience. And to be honest with you, I wasn't willing to uproot my family and move to some small town to work for a news station or whatever. I wanted to make it happen here. So I said, you know what? I will create my own experience. So I prayed about it. Matter of fact, I was working at a Christian bookstore at the time, and I called my husband on the phone. And I was like, I cannot keep doing this. Like, this isn't what I went to school for. I need to start my own business. And we prayed together on the phone for God to give us a sign for me to start my own business. And kid you not, 2 hours later, I got an email from a local basketball organization, youth basketball organization, and they were like, hey, Kharissa, we heard that you're an awesome writer, and we have this huge tournament coming up. We need 4 newsletters. We'll pay you $1,000 for each one. Can you do it? And I was just like, absolutely. I see your sign, Jesus. So that's how it started. And then, like, the ball just got rolling really quickly. Since then, I worked with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum and the American Jazz Museum, and just got to do some amazing things with a bunch of organizations and companies. And then it kind of spread. Now I have clients in Texas and Pennsylvania and Minnesota and Atlanta, and all these places. So
walking in purpose.
Yes, exactly.
And that's just for those listening. I just hope you are encouraged about just her testimony and knowing what it looks like to walk in purpose. And you talk about, I know early in the show we talked about the struggle that people see the success, but they don't see what it took to get there.
Yeah.
And so I think that is the beauty of knowing where we've been. But not everybody knows where we've been and where we are. People solely focus on, oh, that's where she is right now. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. But you're like, well, you don't know what it took for me to get to that point. So what would you say that makes the K Forte branding communication so unique? What makes, like, hey, I really want to get into that. I really, that's all you do, website building and things like that too.
Yeah. So the website design program is actually our most popular service. And that is actually one of the things that I think makes us different. The first being that I think people can tell that I really do care about you walking in your purpose. And my passion is literally and truly helping startup companies and whatnot just get going. Like, I love that hunger and that grind, and being able to help them make it is something I'm really passionate about. So there's that piece. And then with the website design program is actually a website design program. I don't just create a website and then throw you to the wolves. No, I'm going to create your website. That's phase 1. And then phase 2 is I'm going to coach you on how to manage your website so that you can edit it and update it. Yeah.
Because sorry, I didn't want to cut you
off. No,
you're
good.
I see people who have, and I believe that does what makes it unique, because people build websites, but they don't tell them how to manage it.
Yeah.
And I just think that's the cool thing that you just talked about, because there's so many people out there like, okay, I got the website built, and then it never gets updated because they're
right. Well, you got old clothes in stock that you don't even sell no more. You're like, yeah, I'm going to make sure you know how to check your inventory and all of that stuff. And then the last phase of it is, of course, launching the website, which is much deeper and intricate and nerdy than what people really realize. It's about not just getting your domain connected, but also making sure that your SEO is on point and that you're Google indexed and all of that good stuff, so that people can actually find this digital piece of real estate that you've acquired.
So if somebody is listening today and thinking, I need a website, but I mean, I literally had a friend just trying to figure out how to build a website. I'm going to say now, Wix, I can't stand Wix. I cannot stand Wix. My husband has Wix, and I'm like,
why do you not like Wix?
Okay, I'm not a person who likes to sit on YouTube.
Okay.
And like the tutorials and stuff. I just think I can magically figure it out.
Okay.
And here's my transparency in this. So I use Squarespace just to it's easier. It's easier, and I realized they don't have all the same things that Wix can come with.
Right.
And so I think that also ties into, I guess for me, like just being patient, especially because we talked about taking purpose a day at a time.
Yes.
And so when I want to build this website, I want to get it out there, and I used to be that person. Okay, it's done. I get out there. And so my husband came to the picture. He's like, "Is this really what you want? Is this really?" And I do have a website. I just haven't put it up there because it's not what I really want.
Girl, we're going to talk after this.
So we're going to have to talk after it, because it's like, this is kind of not what I really want. Squarespace, give me some new features. I'm just kind of sitting there waiting, like, are y'all going to give some new features so I don't have to cut my domain, or not domain, but my billing off and all of that. And so where could people, if, like I said, if someone wanted to say, okay, I absolutely want a website, can they go on your site and book a...
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. Yeah, go to therealkforte.com and you'll just click, there's actually a couple ways to get there. You can actually click K Forte Branding Communications and to learn more about, the company as itself. Or now I actually have this More menu button, which is a really cool feature that I just came up with last night that I'm super excited about. But you click that, and then it says, like, right there in the pop-up website design program. So you can click that, and it'll take you there and teach you about how the program works and whatnot. And the funny thing is that I create all of my websites on Wix.
They look good, too.
Well, thank
this website is nice.
Yeah, people say that a lot. They're like, yo, when they see different websites that I've done, especially when they see, the wide range of work that I've done, from clothing lines to personal fitness and things of that nature, They're like, you did all of these on Wix? Yeah, you got to think outside the box. But that's where I come in. I'm the creative, and I'll teach you how to manage it.
Yeah, now I'm thinking, like, now I'm reflecting on my website, like, dang, you can scroll one, you see nothing else. Like, all right, well, it's okay, because it's not fully out there like that.
Right.
So I know you have the K Forte Branding Communications, the Devout Life, and I just subscribed today and saw the Think Piece.
Yeah.
What's the Think Piece?
I love Think Piece. Think Piece is my baby because it's truly a passion project. Because the only thing that costs on it is if you want to buy the little $5 e-guides or whatever, ebooks or whatever.
Okay.
But it's pretty much free. And I developed it because I am a writer at heart first and foremost. Writing is what fueled and was the foundation.
Freeing.
Yeah. It fueled everything else that I do. So Think Piece it started off as the blog. It's called Think Piece. And then that turned into the weekly emails, the Think Piece weekly emails. And now there's also Think Piece Collective, which is the Facebook group. And the cool thing about the Facebook group is that it's no biz this, biz that, no industry talk. It's just inspiration and good vibes with women like you. And we just all share on the goodness. And I'm kind of a hippie, boho kind of chick.
So you mentioned how people are like, now that we're coming like to the closing of the end of the show, and all the things we talked about, and someone asks, how do you manage, your 9 to 5 and you have kids? Now I'm asking, how do you manage 9 to 5, having kids, and being married, and just building a brand?
Well, the cool thing is that now I am in full-time entrepreneur mode. So, yes, so God be the glory. It's pretty dope for that. But you know what? That in itself was a process. You said something earlier that made me think about this, about trusting the process. I think you were talking about how you'll go quickly from you just want to get it out there.
Yeah.
Girl, let me tell you something. One thing that I've learned is that God does not operate on our time. And my favorite Bible verse is Psalm 46:10, be still and know that I am God. And the cool thing about...
I like the Travis Green. Have you heard the Travis Green song?
No.
Okay, you have to listen to it.
Okay, I'm going to check that out. Oh, okay, I'm going to check that out. But the cool thing about God is that he has over 85 different names used for him in the Bible. So I don't know why we get all caught up on Yahshua when there's over 85 names for him in the Bible. And in Psalm 46:10, that name is Elohim, which means strong creator. So obviously that's my favorite name for him of the ones I know so far. And it's the same name for him that's used in the story of creation, right? Makes sense. Strong creator, story of creation. Now, the cool thing about creation, the story of creation, is that we see God first create the environment, and then he creates the something or someone to govern that environment. So, like, for example, on day 1, he created night and day, but he didn't create the sun and moon until, like, day 4 or 5 or something like that.
It's a process.
Yeah, and that's because we read it so fast, though. The Bible says God created the sun and moon to govern night and day, not to be a source of lightness and darkness. And he does that throughout all of creation. He created the sky. Then days later, he created the birds. He created the land. Then days later, he created animals and us, So when we pair knowing that and the Elohim in the story of creation with Elohim in Psalm 46:10, what does that mean for our calling? It means that God is going to create the environment. He's going to set the stage. And at the appropriate time, we will govern over that thing. So we have to trust the process. He is the strong creator. Respect that sacred space between when he put that vision in your heart and when he actually gives you instruction to bring it forward. Because there may be years in between there. But you just got to fast, pray, stay faithful, stay obedient. Didn't he? and didn't go to the promised land.
They went. You didn't even
They
go.
went.
You didn't even get to go.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I like that. I like how you just described it. Because even growing up as kids, you learn that story.
Yeah.
But it's just how you get older and you're like, how you see it through a whole another lens.
Yes.
So I love this interview. Like, it makes me want to like keep going and going. But I was supposed to end the interview, but that's okay because this is what I can do on the Makayla Simone show. So, what advice would you? So I do Wisdom Wednesdays. I got it from Twitter because people tweet every single week.
Yeah,
and it trends every single week. So since it is a Wisdom Wednesday for Twitter, don't try to come for me, Twitter. I gave you your due. But what advice would you give to just your last like little advice or little nugget to throw out there for those who are listening on today?
Let's see. This is something that my grandmother taught me, and I think that no matter what I'm doing, it always comes back up, and that is to get your rest. Remember that when you strip away all of the labels, all of the roles, all of the titles, you are still just a woman. Mm-hmm. So when you put up on the shelf the wife hat, the mom hat, the ministry leader hat, the entrepreneur hat, do you know who you are? Mm. Just as a woman, what are your likes? What are your dislikes? Like, don't connect it to nothing else but you and Jesus. And in that, rest is so intricately connected to that because when we get our rest, we refuel who we are, and then we can pour out and refuel all the other areas of our lives. The Bible says to love God and then love your neighbor as you love yourself. And it's like we see love God, we see love your neighbor, but we forget that it says love your neighbor as yourself. You can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. You can't pour out unless you've been poured into.
Yeah, and I think, and what someone showed me before was there's God, and then people say, okay, you honor God first, then your family, and then your husband, and then just how people never say there's God, yourself.
Yeah.
Actually, loving yourself. You love God, love yourself. Now you can love other people.
Yes.
And how those just over time, once you get married, now it's the husband, then it's a family, then it's everything else.
Absolutely.
And so I really like how you said that, and look, it's 12:54, y'all.
What time are we supposed to be off the air?
It's okay. So, thank you for coming in and interviewing.
It's my pleasure.
The Makayla Simone Show. And for those who are listening, again, tell them where they can find you again on Instagram, Twitter, website, all that.
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Real K Forte. If you are interested in the Devout Life does have its own Facebook at Join the Devout Life, and on Instagram at The Devout Life. But you can learn about all of that at therealkforte.com. Connect with me, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at The Real K Forte.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in today on the Makayla Simone Show. If for those who feel like, dang, I missed the interview, this will be up on YouTube. So
Yay!
You can check it out there, and we'll be back, and I will close out the show. All right. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right.